is Willie Minnix. Welcome to February. We're going to be talking about how to play the mandolin in other keys. A lot of people look at a tuning like A-Dad, which is what I'm in, A, D, A, D, and they say, oh, you can only play in the key of D. That's not true, and I'm actually going to show you today how to play in multiple keys over the course of the next few videos. This series, there'll be a new video each week, but I also recommend you check out the ebook that goes along with this series. It's how to play the mandolin in Dead Man's Tuning in other keys. And the first key that we're going to talk about is the key of E. But before we go to the key of E, I want to give you a pattern that you can use when you play the mandolin. And that pattern is similar to basically the boxes. If maybe you're picking up mandolin from the guitar or from the banjo and you've learned about boxes on stringed instruments. Well, stringed instruments have these things that we call boxes, and we call them boxes because they look like a grid pattern when you draw them out on a piece of paper. And the box for A-Dad tuning, the easiest box to remember, it's basically, and you can leave, this is a pentatonic scale, but and if you check out the ebook, it'll go into more depth, but it's basically open, 2, 4, and you can throw the 5th in on all these strings, but it's really open, 2, 5, open, 2, 4, open, 2, 5, open, 2, 4. But you can do it this way too. Open 2, 4, 5, open 2, 4, 5, open 2, 4, 5, open 2, 4, 5. And that gives you a pattern that you can play just about any melody that you can think of. Like, I mean, if you want to play something like Amazing Grace. Let's say you want to play Old MacDonald, or any pentatonic type tune. In fact, 98% of all tunes tend to be pentatonic in nature, and what that means is there are 5 basic notes that you work with. I always give this example to my students. When you're a kid and you go to school and you begged your mom all the time when she was shopping for school supplies, please get me that gigantic box of crayons with 50 million crayons in it and the cool little crayon sharpener, right? Everybody's done that, right? And your mom caves in, unless she's like my mom. My mom was pretty strict about sticking to her budget. But most moms will cave in and say, you know what? I'll go ahead and get you that big giant box of crayons. And so then you go to school and you're so proud that you have that big box of crayons, and you take it out and your teacher says, I want you to draw me a picture of your house. So you draw a picture of your house, and how many crayons do you use? Maybe 4 or 5, right? Maybe 6 if you're lucky. And so at the end of the year, what do you have? You have a whole box full of crayons that are full size and 5 or 6 crayons that are real tiny little short crayons like this, right? Well, that's kind of how it is with music. Our minds naturally want to limit things down into bite-sized chunks that we can handle. And the pentatonic scale is that bite-sized chunk when it comes to music. And it's that way throughout the whole world. Western music has 12 notes that we tend to use. Out of those 12 notes, we boil those down to 8 notes, and that's called the major scale. But out of that major scale, we still 90% of the time only use 5 of those notes. In African music, you have 24 notes in a scale. In some types of Indian music, you might have 72 notes in a scale. And you have lots of notes in Chinese and in Japanese and Indonesian music, but still, with all those extra notes thrown in, they still have 90% of their music is centered around 5 tones. And if you really want to see a good video about this, I highly recommend watching Howard Goodall's How Music Works. The first episode, it's called Melody, and it's a really good documentary from the BBC, and you can probably find it here on YouTube and watch it for free. So that's something that I really recommend you check out if you want to learn more about this. But the fact of the matter is, this pentatonic scale, which I added a little bit to, I added some of the major scale notes. but you can see more about it in the ebook, what the exact notes are. This scale can be moved up and down the neck. So if you want to play this pattern and you want to play in the key of E, all you have to do is simply move it up 2 frets. So 1 fret, 2 frets. Now, here's the pattern. The 2nd fret now becomes your open. The 4th fret is 2. The 6th fret is now 4. And the 7th fret is 5. Now, I'm going to say a really dirty word as far as mandolin players go, and that's the C word. Yes, I'm going to say it, capo. No, it wasn't communist. That's a different C word. It's capo. Okay, and capo is one of those things that a lot of mandolin players look at and say, oh my goodness, you're playing with a capo. That's so horrible. But you know what? If you're watching this video, 90% chances that you're probably a beginner when it comes to the mandolin. And you may be a guitar player, switch to the mandolin, and you could care less whether you play with a capo. But if you're a beginner, don't listen to the people that chew you out and say you should never play with a capo. A capo, to me, is kind of like training wheels on a bike. And nobody would ever chew out some little kid for having training wheels on his bike. So you're kind of like that little kid. If you're learning to play the mandolin, well, good for you, you know, and do whatever you can to master how to play. So if the capo helps you learn your pattern better, then by all means use the capo. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to get rid of the capo and play without it. But for now, go ahead and put the capo on. And the type of capo that I'm using, I think you can see it there pretty clearly. I don't know what brand this is because I picked it up on vacation one time and I don't have the package anymore. And that was years ago. But it's a really good capo for banjos or mandolins. But sometimes if you're a guitar player, you might just be able to swap out. If your capo is strong enough, you can put a guitar capo on and use that as well. So now that we've moved up, our pattern becomes, this is now the nut, which if you don't know, the white part up here is the nut. But we've moved that nut up and now this fret is the nut. And when you put your capo on, I just kind of put mine close, not exactly in the middle, but close to the middle and just a little bit close to the fret that becomes the new nut. So that means this first dot, excuse me, is the key of, is the first fret now. Even though it really is the 3rd fret, it's for our purposes the 1st fret. The 2nd fret is now this open space. 3rd fret is the next dot. 4th fret is the next open space. And the 5th fret is the 3rd dot. Okay? So if we're going to play that pentatonic scale, or pentatonic plus scale, now we're in the key of E. Now, if you want to play, you know, Amazing Grace, or Old MacDonald. So there you go. That's how you play in the key of E. Stay tuned, and I'm going to teach you how to play in the key of G in the next video. And then we're going to move to the key of A, and then I'm going to wrap this month up with how to play in the key of C, which is going to flip some of this information that I'm giving you up on its head. And it may be a bit confusing, so you definitely want to check out the ebook if you can. And this month's ebook is how to play in different keys in Dead Man's Tuning. And if you like that, check out my books. And I've got several of them out. And this year I'm actually working on a hymn book. So if you like Amazing Grace, which actually I think is in a couple of my other books, you can also check out my hymn book, which is going to have a ton of other hymns for you to check out and play. So God bless you. You have a good day, and we'll see you in the next video.